Hello, welcome back. This time we play some Dark Souls. Don't be surprised and think that I'm playing like someone with a split personality. What really is going on here that I was playing together with a friend. It's his game. I don't have it personally in my Steam. He's a pro gamer. So, especially in the beginning, I needed to again learn to play properly. So sometimes he plays, then you see he plays better, then sometimes I play. I might sometimes suck. I have different technique. I would try more to run away from enemies. He is slashing them properly. So there are differences. And also, okay, first of all, I cut a lot because we failed a lot with the gargoyles, and then my friend finally had the idea to kill other enemies and take some loot or whatever and improve our weaponry and stuff. And then we finally killed the gargoyles. I killed the gargoyles and I'm proud of it. And of course the Windows recording recorded for too long and decided to exactly in that moment stop recording when I finally killed the gargoyles. The technology always is annoying. Universe always annoys me. But this is what happened, so don't be surprised that the part where I finally beat the gargoyles is skipped. At least later you can see how my friend kills the next enemy, supposedly the most difficult enemy according to him. Some weird berserk-like demon entity who looks like the devil himself with a goat face. Generally a very dark game. It's interesting to me that our society likes all the time to show very dark, brutal stuff and everyone likes it. But it makes sense because in this 3D reality we come from a world that is full of suffering and so we respond to stuff that gives us adrenaline or whatever. So it's understandable. I mean, I like the game, it's cool. With these retarded zombies that act like ADHD people from a special school. Look, we recorded this glitch, so I decided to put it here because it's just hilarious. But this is all I wanted to say about that. So when I get into the flow, we can start talk about this video. I know that videos like this, also depending on how I will call the video later, what title I will give it, might receive less views because people always just want to hear about, oh, I'm on a 150-day streak and these are my benefits, and they always want to hear mostly about the good part. But I'm sharing here my real experience and you get a lot of good insights if you pay attention, and you can learn also from what I'm saying. I don't know, I assume this will not get too many views again. Maybe if I put Dark Souls in the title, which I of course will, it will boost it a bit. But I'm on a very good path to mastery, and I think I'm at the threshold to something big. You know, I'm successful with semen retention. I know how to do that easily when I'm outside of a relationship. But I have a challenge. I have now my relationship since over 3 months, and I'm trying to have optimal charisma energy and retention energy and discipline while being in a relationship, as I mentioned before. So when I had my successful streak and then I got my girlfriend, then I needed to learn to deal with the extra drive and so on, because you also at the same time try to perform good and bad and so on. And this is why you cannot completely stay abstinent from edging. You need to learn to do it properly, because this way you train your stamina and you last long in bed. Depending on how I do it, sometimes I can stay infinitely long in bed without coming. And if I don't do anything, there are times where I come too quickly. And so I am figuring this out, but I came a long way. So I had different experiments. I decided for a while completely not to edge to see what happens, but I understood this is not the solution because then I will come quickly. In my last video I recommended a tip, and it can work, but it's not reliable. The tip is that you can go between the legs first until your excess sensitivity is gone, and then you go inside during sex. And when you do that, You can sometimes last for infinity, but it's not reliable. So there's a better technique, and the better technique is edging. You just have to know how to do it. And I recommend you do it without any visual content, because this is overstimulating and can just make you relapse eventually. Of course, you should stay away from corn. Me not doing that in the past, it resulted in me getting hacked, because the energy that I had attracted this negative mirror in the 3D reality. So I definitely stay away from corn, but also from other content, even from safe for work content. So edging is something where you are exploring your own body, and you learn better to deal with urges and to have discipline and to not come quickly. Therefore, you prime and train your body to also be able to do the same later when you have sex. By the way, since I already mentioned the corn, a beginner's tip for people who struggle with corn. I mean, they are addicts. I understand that. People are different. And the best tip is that if you're an addict and you cannot stay away and you relapse to corn, then what you do afterwards is you have to learn to look at corn and not do anything. Don't edge, don't do anything. This way, you dissect, is this the right word? You train your psychology, your mind, to discern between corn and sexual activity, so that it's not related anymore. If you're too much addicted to corn, you cannot always force yourself to stay fully away. So in the beginning, it's smart to still watch it if you're not able to let it be, but you just don't touch yourself. And this way you learn, to have discipline and to not associate these two things with each other, because there's healthy edging and then there's unhealthy edging. But okay, this is just a beginner's tip, and I'm not a beginner. I'm just telling because this is what I did years ago to learn to stay away. Because we are in such an unhealthy society where no one teaches us that corn is bad, and then we just find it out by ourselves as a child or teenager that such a thing exists. And so, of course, we are curious and we start exploring. So if our society would teach us about it, none of this would happen. But I guess we get better, because nowadays at least we have many times some type of age verification or whatever. Yeah, but still, yeah, of course, corn is too easily accessible, for sure. Our society is cooked. So then we can only learn afterwards to again stay away from it, even though we got hooked in the past. But okay, so the best edging technique is one where you don't at all have to ejaculate. Because if you ejaculate, you lose power, even though sometimes a release has a positive effect. I'm not going to lie. But what I learned for myself is I need to make the right condition, that I don't feel in a hurry. Because if you don't have a lot of time and you think, okay, I need to do my edging practice because it gives me better stamina for during sex, then this is already a bad mindset, because then you're rushing and then it's easier to ejaculate. So what I do is I go in the bathtub, I make a warm shower, and then I do it slowly. This way it is better. And so last time I was already in high energy, but I came too quick during sex because I was abstaining from any edging. So I thought to myself, okay, obviously this is not the solution. And then the next thing that I was doing, I went home and I was edging. But you just have to be careful that you don't ejaculate at all, because oftentimes what can happen is that when you already have good discipline but not good enough, you just ejaculate a little drop. So it's not a full release, and it doesn't lower your charisma significantly, but still it gives a suboptimal result. So I did that, and I had a little ejaculation because I was not playing by my own rules. I could have stopped when only the pre-cum comes, and this is what you normally should do. You only edge until the pre-cum comes, and then you stop. But then afterwards I still continued violating my own rules, because it is of course exciting, and this is what you need to learn to not do, obviously. But so I did it, and then there was this little drop of ejaculation. So my discipline was still kind of high, because I could stop at this point, but it was not optimal. And it's funny, because afterwards I went to the students' bar, and the entire evening was exactly mirroring this imperfect streak situation. My energy was exactly mirroring this, multiple different ways. So I went there, and there's this one friend who I talked about recently already, that I was mentioning Bill Gates to him, and that he is part of the whole vaccine situation, and I think this is not good, and that he is part of the mainstream and therefore did not agree with me. So this time I meet him again at the students' bar, and I was telling him about Epstein files that I saw that indicate that Gates had a personal interest in the whole 2020 lockdown situation because he was invested in the vaccine. And this guy was again not believing me. And then he asked me this typical question that normies will always ask you: where did you get your information from? Then I said what typically people like me would say: from YouTube. Then he again replied, it's always the same lame convo. Then he replied, yeah, this is not a good source, you have to check yourself. I said I highly trust the source that I was checking. If I say it, then it has reason. And then, of course, I had the extra work to do during the bar and searched the fucking Epstein file for him. And I found it. And I showed it to him. And in the Epstein file, it is an email. It was about Bill Gates being frustrated about having invested a lot of money into vaccines, and that up until now, it was back in 2011, he got no return on investment. So this was the indicator that he is highly invested personally in making something happen so that his vaccine investments pay off. So I show it to him and I feel like I'm winning. But then he of course argues with me, yeah, okay, but in the email it is written about polio, the polio virus, and not about corona. Yeah, well, obviously, because the email is from 2011. But the point is, it's an indicator that this guy is interested into pushing his vaccines. Anyway, then he was arguing with me again, but I felt like I had a small win, because I was able to find the email and prove to him that even though I was using YouTube for my source findings, there was truth to it, and that the Epstein file and the email really existed. So I felt like I won to some degree, but not fully. And this exactly mirrors my edging, where I had a little minimal release. Then we played table soccer 3 times. First I played with a friend, and we played against 2 other people, and we slightly lost. So I felt frustrated. But then my co-player changed, and I got a very powerful, the best table soccer player, and we played together, and we won against those 2 enemies. Then they went away, and 2 other enemies came to play against us. I call them enemies, I just sometimes don't have the right wording because I'm not a native speaker. And then we nearly won, but it was very tough, and the game lasted for long, and then all the time we had to continue playing because at the end we already had both like 10 scores, and there needs to be a 2-score difference. So it was going on and on and on and on. And sadly we lost, even though we nearly won. And again, it mirrors exactly the moment with the edging, because I nearly won, but I a bit lost in the end because I had my little mini ejaculation. And then this friend, who is very good at table soccer, so he doesn't need to lie around and say, yeah, we could have won even though it's not true, and they were cheating. He doesn't need that because he's a very good player. And still he had the analysis that probably they were cheating a bit, and at one point they moved 2 scores in a row. So if this is true, it means that our success was very high, even though we didn't make it in the end. So it's still negotiable. And I don't know, in my opinion, this just really once more mirrors my edging that I did before. What I'm trying to say is, I think that with my edging, I primed how the evening will go, because I primed my subconsciousness and I acted it out subconsciously within the students' bar. There was also another point. There were 2 female bartenders. One is, from my opinion, objectively, because I think many men like the same type, like they can score the attractiveness of women, and most of the time they will agree on the same aspects, that this one is more attractive, this one is less attractive. So there were those 2 female bartenders, and the one is not that attractive. She's a bit chubby, a bit small, and she is wearing hijab. but the other one was more attractive. And it's interesting to see how less attractive girls will try more hard to appeal to the guy, in this case appeal to me, and the more attractive ones will always have attitude and pretend that they don't care and be more like, what's the right word here? Basically like mixed. Yeah, so it was just interesting to see, because this less attractive one was all over me, talking a lot to me, paying so much attention, smiling, asking something. And the other one was having attitude. This is the right word, attitude. Because at one point I needed to order drinks, the smaller one was not around, the bigger one saw that I am waiting to order drinks, decided on purpose to ignore me and ask someone else if he wants to have someone, even though it was obvious he does not need to. So I understood she's doing this on purpose. But then I got one back on her, because I was, like I said, edging and nearly fully successful, but not completely. Because I still had my mini ejaculation. So at some later point, I did order from her, and then something funny happened. Because I saw she was somehow excited about it, because she went there and her phone was standing there. I don't know what she was doing. She was recording for Instagram, I think. So her phone was there, and she dropped it for a moment. So this showed to me she's in an excited state. Then she gave me the wrong drink, and because of that we had a little talk and we were laughing, and then she gave me the right drink. So I, in this situation, gained a bit of power over her, so to speak, because she messed up, and it lightened up the mood. But then later she again was pretending that she does not see me and looking the other way. So this is what I mean by not fully optimal energy based on not fully optimal edging. It's also funny that sometimes it's exactly before you want to edge or relapse or whatever, people are extra kind to you because they already see the excitement in your eyes, I assume. This happened in the past at work already, where people were extra paying attention suddenly, just right before I had the plan to do something. And this time before I edged, I was walking home, and where the steps are towards my own room came down another neighbor, African woman with her little daughters, and the one daughter was looking at me and saying, "She is beautiful, isn't she?" Meaning her mother. And I was like, "Yeah." And then she looked at me, the mother, and was so happy about it. So such a positive interaction can happen. Anyway, then I did this little edging, which is not a big problem because it was just mini release. But it's just interesting how the whole evening went in such a way where I was kind of winning and in good energy and people paid attention to me, yet it was not ideal, and I was, for example, a bit more on the losing side when it comes to table soccer and stuff like this. Everything was a bit more of a challenge, a bit more of a struggle. It was not completely, I'm winning, I'm in the complete flow and I'm owning the whole stage. It was more of like, I need a bit to fight and it's challenging, but I go out of it strongly. I would have liked not to edge, but it's just not possible if you want to also be in a relationship and last long and so on. And then when I do this, I'm always suspicious of people, because first I'm not sure how will they react, and then I'm always looking a bit more pissed. But because I have the energy, because edging also gives you more energy, you're more tense a bit, you're more powerful, because you also show discipline that you are able to edge without fully releasing. And this is then obvious from your charisma. And my charisma was during that students bar that I was a bit more in the fighting mode, so a bit cocky. And people pick up on this, and normally people always like this. There are also two people, when I'm in a better powerful energy, they pay more attention to me because they are like outsiders. They don't know exactly to who they belong. And then they always look at me with a certain expectation, like, oh yeah, maybe through him we can get more social or whatever. One of them is a guy, the other one's a girl. The girl decided to go behind me when she wanted to enter the bar in such a way that she was brushing against my back. Obvious attraction, subtle sign, such stuff people will do when they perceive you as attractive. Always such stuff will happen, that someone moves close to you and will somehow rub himself against you. Stuff like this. And guys, of course, just pay more attention. They talk more to you. They ask you more, hey, do you want to join me? We play table soccer, stuff like this. I had already bars in the past where nothing was flowing, and then I felt like going home earlier because I just couldn't relate to people, couldn't connect, couldn't socialize. So if you have better energy, you can do it better. Sometimes even when you are on a streak, it happens that you cannot connect at all to anyone because, I don't know, because you just not partake in life. You're just like a monk and you cannot relate to people in the same way as if when you sometimes entertain your sexual energy. It's funny, in the past I had strong nofap streaks where I could retain completely and not do edging because I didn't have a girlfriend, and I had days I would just go out of the house, I would go into the bus. It happened multiple times with multiple girls, even at the bars as well. They would notice me, then they would, for example, in the bus, sit in front of me and on purpose wave their hair in such a way that it goes behind their seat and touches me in an annoying way. Like, hey, pay attention to me. Literally smacking their hair into my face. It's ridiculous. Same happened in the bar. Anyway, same night, I went home with my girlfriend, we had sex, and I could last for infinity completely. I had the best performance ever. So obviously edging works very well. Yeah, so next day I tried again, and now I'm learning to do it without any ejaculation. It's not hard if you know how to do it. Most important is you find something that is low stimulating for you, and you should not use visual content as it quickly pushes you over the border, and it makes you not so focused on your body, but you should be focused on your body and not on a screen if you want to learn discipline and have a better feeling for your own body and energy and how to control it. So yeah, today I did it. Today I only did it until pre-cum and then I stopped. I plan to do this now repeatedly. You know, I also have a nervous tic. Sometimes I'm blinking too much with my eye. It started when I was younger because of the stress from studying. And sometimes I don't have it at all when I'm just doing a streak without edging. And then when I edge and I do it until a little release happens, the suboptimal type of edging, especially then I get my nervous tic stronger. This is also something I have to take as a marker. It shows me that my energy is too much and not grounded anymore. But I hope that if I stop at the pre-cum, then my discipline will get me higher, and then I'm also able to control my energy better. My nervous system will be more relaxed, and I won't have the blinking tic so much. So we will see what happens. Interestingly, I also had a dream. After I was home and being with my girlfriend. So yeah, we had a nice time, and in my dream, I was in Freiburg. This is the city where my ex-girlfriend lived. I broke up with my ex-girlfriend last spring, but we were together for 4 years prior to that. And Freiburg is a beautiful city. She was living there, so I was visiting it a lot, and I associate Freiburg with relationship, obviously. And in the dream, I was dreaming that I am again in Freiburg, and I'm going there already multiple times. And I realized Freiburg is just a metaphor. It's not really about the city, it's a metaphor for me having a good time, even though I'm not with my ex-girlfriend anymore. Because I'm now with my new girlfriend, and it's the same amazing feeling, and it doesn't matter that I broke up with my previous girlfriend. So it was a powerful, positive dream. There were a lot of students in the dream. I was at the university place. It's funny. Normally I try not to vape anymore after brushing my teeth, but that night, because we had such a good sex, I decided to vape a bit. And then I was also dreaming that I was at the university in Freiburg, and everywhere on the floor were lying empty vapes. And I was looking at them and thinking, should I pick one up and see if there's still something inside? But I decided not to. And then I saw there was another student arguing with a professor. The professor woman told him to stop vaping here. This is not a good place to vape. And then he was arguing, what are you going to do about it? I'm going to still vape. And he vaped. And then she was shouting at him that he should stop. But I didn't care anymore, and I left the whole place and didn't look how they were continuing to fight. So this is like a positive metaphor that I'm getting a grip on handling the vaping better and not overdoing it the way I did before. It's just always interesting to interpret dreams. And yeah, I mean, this is mostly it. There happened more, but I think it's not the most important right now to mention. Let's see. Yeah, I guess we should at least continue until in this walkthrough the gargoyles are beaten. But as you will see in a moment, sadly the part where I finally beat them is not obvious. Okay, here comes the zombies again. One more final time, they need to be killed first. Yeah, but let's see. Today is students bar again, so my energy might need a time to reboot, but if I continue now doing edging and always tapping at the pre-com, I think I will highly level up, have more discipline, have more charisma, be always able to win better at table soccer and stuff like this, because I'm more focused and I know I can handle my energy better. I don't know if any of this makes sense to you. If you're a normie, it won't make sense to you what I'm talking about. Oh shit, I thought this is already the final run where we go to the gargoyles. Let's see. Next one then maybe. Yeah, if you have no clue about such stuff, it won't make sense. But if your mind is open and you experience something similar, you will be maybe able to relate. So you can take this all like a science data. Also, when my energy is high because I was edging, I see more what I call angel numbers. You can call them whatever you want, mirror numbers. I always see 22, 22. Sometimes I'm in the bus, I just look at someone. The person suddenly takes out his phone to look at the phone, and I see on the phone of that other person randomly 22, 22. This happened already multiple times to me. And then when I pay attention, it happens more extreme. I see 14, 44. For me, this is a great one because it's like the 144,000 light warriors, if you know about that. There's always in the Bible this number. It's supposed to be the number of people that came to Earth in the end times to fight off the evil. Then I see even stuff like 14 hours, 14 minutes, and 14 seconds. Most of the time I see it with 14. I don't know, 14 for me personally is a powerful number. It's just funny. Yeah, but in my opinion, those numbers don't really have a lot of meaning. They're not like, oh, I need to go on my smartphone and check what this number is talking about. It's a sign from angels. No. People think of it like this, but in my opinion, it's just a sign that I have high energy. Maybe even too high. Because sometimes I'm even too tensed up already. I have my blinking tick, like I said, my nervous tick. And then I also keep seeing these numbers. So only because you see the numbers, first of all, it's a good sign that your energy is high. But it can also be too high. Sometimes your energy gets too high and then it's ungrounded. So this is why I am experimenting with edging. It's also possible I shouldn't do it every day. This is something I'm figuring out. I will just see how it goes. Now I'm learning to always do it in the disciplined way without any ejaculation, without any micro-release. And then from there on we will see how to improve it even better. My optimal goal is just to last longer in bed, which I can, but maybe it's not necessary to do it daily. This is something I need to figure out. Okay, so this should be the final fight. This is me playing, owning this bitch, but then also just the recording will stop. It's so funny how he always uses his tail to beat me down. So this needs to be cut off. Then he's much weaker. Aha, there already comes the other one. We were at this point more powerful because we up-leveled our weapons already. It's funny how they both can spit fire, but the one of them decides not to do it until the end. They're on purpose playing it easy on you somehow. Not very smart creatures, it seems. Okay, I killed this one. Perfect. And now here somewhere the recording will freeze. Ah, he also lost his tail. Yeah, you see, right before I could end, fucking recording stopped. And then I could only repeat afterwards, because in this game you cannot pause. I would have just paused, but yeah. It's not possible. For the glory, I guess I should also keep this video going while I go to this tower and ring the clock. My friend was so kind to let me do it because I owned the gargoyles after all. Yeah, and I'm still proud of that. Because we tried an entire day before already and it didn't work, but this was before we upleveled our weapons. I'm a noob in this game, so I did not know about any of this. He is always doing all the stuff, I'm just later going and fight where it's possible. He already played through this entire game. I think in the beginning of this video you could saw his score that he had previously. Yeah, it's interesting. It's an online game, and every time someone wins against the gargoyles and rings the bell, you can hear it. So when I was ringing the bell now, also other players could hear it. Great achievement. Alright, let's continue the next time. I have more of this recording, so I have more material later for this. Like, share, subscribe, and in the future there will be more videos that are not about me having suboptimal streaks. I will get more and more optimized. And then let's see what will happen in my life. This is an ongoing story. My concept for these videos is just to share about my life experiences. And maybe I will be more successful with something. And then you see that my approach has value. Bye.